So, we are here to discuss the energy crisis that the current Earth is facing and that we're facing. Essentially, energy costs an enormous amount because there's a short supply of it. Now, energy comes in several forms. Currently, the most popular form is electricity and petrol. So, the Earth right now is in an energy crisis, and we're here to discuss how to eliminate it because currently the way that we produce electricity is extremely pollutant, and the Earth is on a brink of collapsing because of its inability to cope with all these pollutants. What we're proposing right now is that the Earth is not necessarily in a crisis as far as energy goes. It is in a management crisis for energy. So it's an energy management crisis. The energy that we collect from the Earth and from the sun is about 10 times more energy than what we actually need. The problem is that we waste energy. We actually waste 9 times more than what we need to waste. So that's the key factor here. It's not necessarily that we don't have enough energy. It's just the fact that we waste too much energy. So we have to come up with a new way to manage energy and to use it in a way that's not wasteful. So in energy management, here's the first issue. It's the electricity transport. And this is a big factor. What we do is we produce electricity through dams, through hydropower, through coal burning plants, through nuclear plants. And essentially what we have to do is we have to ramp up the electricity in order for it to transport it over long distances to the cities. And in that transportation, the electricity actually diminishes in its potency or its quality. So maybe it might start at 500,000 kilowatts, but it might end up as 50 kilowatts depending on the distance. So in order to supply a city that's miles away from, let's say, a dam that's producing clean energy, we have to make about 5,000 kilowatts. So we have to get a lot of turbines to turn in order to meet that 5,000 kilowatt to supply the demand, which is 50 kilowatts in the city. So there is a stark difference between 5,000 and 50. We're losing a lot of electricity over distance. So that's one of the things electricity, that's the nature of it. It doesn't transport really well at all. A lot of power is actually being produced with nuclear plants near the cities, as well as with coal burning plants. The closer it is to the actual source that needs that electricity, the more efficient it is. But it's not practical because having a nuclear plant near a city is disastrous and as well as environmentally unfriendly. So that's a key issue, transportation of electricity. So one of the other big issues is energy storage. Now, currently what we do is when we want to store electricity, we store it in batteries. And this is just one example of a standard battery that you may use in your home, but the technology for a battery hasn't changed much in the years. It still uses the same kind of technology, although it uses different material and more efficient material. But the battery is extremely limited. Electricity is very useful, but it's limited in its ability to supply us with what we need as far as energy goes. So right now we're storing energy in a battery, and we all know that the materials required to build a battery are extremely pollutant. And to dispose of batteries, you can't normally dispose it in a standard waste because it has these chemicals in it and these elements in it that harm the environment. So the solution for energy storage is a huge problem, and that's one of the things that we're going to be addressing as well. So the solution that we're proposing right now is hydrogen power. Hydrogen as a fuel to fuel and replace all of our energy needs. And that includes a lot of things, but it's going to work with the existing energy sources that we have right now. So, the good thing about hydrogen is it's one of the most environmentally friendly sources of energy on the planet. Basically, its byproduct is clean water. Hydrogen is not naturally found in the environment. It's actually, you have to produce it via extracting it from water. Hence the H2O. There's 2 parts hydrogen in an atom of water. So you have to separate it, and in order to do that, you need electricity and you need water. So a great place to do that is actually in a dam where there's ample water as well as there is electricity. And then what you can do is the electricity produced out of a dam is actually put into a plant that converts it into a hydrogen liquid. And hydrogen liquid stores really well. And what you can do is when you store this hydrogen liquid, you can actually transport it using hydrogen-powered vehicles to their destination, which is, in this case, a city. And a plant converts it back into electricity to supply the city with electricity. And you can see that the source of electricity and the destination are very close. So you don't got the drop-off of lower amperage coming from the plant itself, because the plant will be close to the city, if not right in the center of the city. Now, hydrogen is a fuel that's been used since the 70s, and it's extremely user-friendly. There's a bad negative connotation with hydrogen. The reality is hydrogen is the fuel of the future. So you can do the same thing with solar farms. You can have a solar farm in the middle of the desert as long as there's a water source, and it's converted directly at that source into hydrogen, and then the hydrogen is transported through vehicles to their desired location. So basically, the energy that we have right now does not comply to, efficiency. So it's all about the management. And if you look at this chart over here, essentially when you're converting it to hydrogen, you're losing about 30% of that maximum number of electricity that you produce. So the energy, when it's converted, you always lose a little bit. So you're getting about 70% of that full maximum. So we don't necessarily have to build these large dams. So it's a smaller environmental footprint for these buildings to meet the demand. The good news is the infrastructure that we have currently right now will meet the need that we currently have, the demand that we currently have, because we don't demand that much given how much we produce. The only reason why we produce this much is because we're losing so much via the transportation. So now, again, the hydrogen is the perfect solution for transportation and storing electricity. To store electricity, you essentially have to use it when you produce it. And therefore, when you make a power facility, you have to make it to supply that current demand that's needed at that time. So the way that they estimate that is to get all the power needs of all the places that they have to, that are asking for power, and they figure out the maximum peak required energy. Well, obviously the energy that's needed during the day is much more than, let's say, 3 o'clock in the morning at night. So at night, pretty much they have to shut down the turbines on several of these dams because there's no more demand for it and they can't store it. So the potential of that dam producing energy is significantly reduced. So what we need to do is we have to build, potential sources that continually run and they're efficient. But during off-peak hours, they actually save that energy. And the only way you can do that efficiently is by using hydrogen. So that's the key solution to fix all of our energy problems. It's energy management. And that includes the transportation and storage of energy in an efficient and non-pollutant way. And that pretty much can change the world around. It's not going to take years and years. You can do this instantly. The technology has been around forever. It's just for some reason people are unable to put the pieces together. So that's all we have to do in order to save the world, and it can be done in a rapid amount of time. So hopefully you follow this new paradigm, and you, if you're more interested, you can go onto our website, and hopefully, if you are really motivated, you can invest in our company. And our company is currently pursuing this agenda. The Earth can recuperate very quickly if we implement a plan like this, that's just extremely simple. So the answers are all there, and it can happen in no amount of time. So pass this message around, let your friends know, and we are currently open to investments. So whatever you invest, it's going to be something fruitful for you in the future. And not only that, just invest in the future.